So similar to our previous quilt-alongs and sew-alongs, we're just going to follow the pattern page by page in order so that you guys can follow along with the printed pattern. I'll go through a lot with the video, but you definitely do need to keep this close by because there's just not any way to like include every single little detail, and I wouldn't want you to miss something. So the first thing we have is prep. I've got everything cut out, and I have done this already. So I have applied the Shape Flex interfacing to the wrong side of the two bag outside pieces. These are my two bag outside pieces with the Shape Flex attached. And then I have applied Flex Foam interfacing to the wrong side of the two bag. These are the two bag side lining pieces. I know they're rectangles, but we're going to cut the circle at a later point. So these are the lining pieces of the bag sides. Then I also just have cut out the bag side pieces on the outside, and then the bag pocket pieces and pocket lining. Sometimes people like to do the lining different than the pocket, but I'm just going to keep it the same for simplicity's sake. So if you're kind of like, I don't understand how this works, this is kind of how this piece goes together, and then it gets cut in a circle. So those are cut, and then I have my tab pieces cut here for zipper tabs and for the tabs for to attach the shoulder strap. And then I have also sewn my two bag lining pieces together, 1/2 inch seam allowance, pressed it open, and then attached it with my iron to the fusible fleece. So all of my prep steps are done, and I am ready to move on to step 2, which are the straps. Okay, we're going to start by adding the straps to the outside of the bag front pieces. So it's noted on the pattern where to place your marks. You're going to need a ruler and some sort of pen that will, or chalk, that will come off of your fabric. I always like to use the friction pen. I've had good luck with this so far. I know some people have had a hard time with it, so double check, do like a test scrap of fabric before you use it, but you mark on it and then it goes away with heat. So mine since I'm doing the small bag, the first thing I need to do is I need to draw a line 3 inches in from the outside edges. Also, as you do this, make sure you understand what part of your bag is the top and which part of the bags are the sides, and that is noted on the pattern on the cutting directions so that you can kind of keep track of that as you go. For example, I know that this piece is 15 inches wide, so this is 15 inches wide, and then which makes these the sides and this the top, and then this the seam, the bottom seam. So we've come in 1, 2, 3 inches on each side. Go over it a few times. Honestly, with this fabric, I think chalk would work the best, but I, of course, cannot find my chalk. So 3 inches from the side, and then I'm going to come down and also make a mark 3 inches down, like this. So I have kind of a little grid laid out right here. And then, as it says, I'm going to pin the webbing. I'm going to pin it so that the cotton webbing is inside the line I drew. So here's the line, here's the edge of the webbing. And I'm going to pin it up to this 3-inch point right here. And I like to put my pin sideways so I know where that is. And then I'll start the pin also down here. Then as you do this, make sure this doesn't get twisted. So make sure it's laying flat. Let the top of it just be your slack. And pin the other side like so. And put several pins in. If you're worried about the straps moving around, you can use a little bit of like sew line glue and put a little bit of glue underneath, and that will help keep them in place as you sew as well. Like this one I can see is a little bit, it's not perfectly straight. So do that with both of your bag outside pieces and both of your fabric strap, oh, extra ruler over there, fabric strap pieces, and sew it. And let's go over to the machine. I'll show you how I sew these. All right, so I have my machine fitted with a 1D foot, if you're on a Bernino, which is just a standard sewing machine foot, and I have polyester thread in my machine. So you want to use polyester thread because it'll hold up a little bit better with the wear and tear for a bag. And I'm using Metler Metrazine, if you are wondering which one. I like to find a spot, get that to focus, spot on my presser foot and line that up with the edge so that way I know I have got a straight seam. So I'm just going to line up the edge of my webbing with that inside edge of my sewing machine foot and sew. Make sure to backstitch to lock the stitch. Come up to the top here and remove this pin. With the needle down, I'm going to pivot, keeping this straight. I'm going to sew this across, and then I'm going to backstitch and sew it again, and then sew over it straight so that I've got it stitched 3 times because this is a tension point in the bag. And repeat the same process for the other side of the strap and also for the other bag piece. I have the strap sewn onto both of the bag outside pieces. I always like to, when I'm using ribbon or some sort of fusible webbing, which looks like this one is clogged, I like to use a bit of fray check on the ends just so that with wear and tear it doesn't come out over time. So you're just going to want to put a nice good dollop along the ends here. And make sure you read the directions on the package of this stuff because you can hurt yourself with it if you're not careful. Okay, so we've got the fray check on the end, and then you are going to pin these 2 pieces right sides facing, and I like to go in and just make sure to place a pin on each side of that strap so that the straps line up perfectly in the seam allowance on the bottom of the bag. Like so you've got this pinned. You're going to sew this bottom seam with a 1/2 inch seam allowance, and then you're going to press that seam open, and then we are ready to move on to the zipper. Moving on to the zipper, the first thing you want to do is take your zipper tab pieces, fold them in half and press them, and then press each end under a 1/4 inch, and like that, so you have like a little book. Take the piece, and I like to unzip the zipper a little bit. And I'm going to do my best to pin this while on camera, but it's a little harder to do from this angle. You're going to take it and place it right there so that the folded edge is next to the end of the zipper, and then pin it in place. Then put the other end in. And the reason I unzip it a little bit is because you want this little opening to get as closed as possible, and if the zipper is zipped up, then sometimes it keeps it from doing that. So I'm going to push this in as far as that'll go, pin it again, Then sew it on your machine using your zipper foot right along this edge. I have already sewn this end of the zipper. After you have sewn it, you need to take, you can use a ruler, you can use scissors, it's up to you, and you're just going to trim this so that it's the same width as the zipper. So do that to both ends, and then we'll be ready to attach the zipper to the bag. You're going to pin the zipper. You're going to take, there's a right side and a wrong side to the zipper. Also, this is the way the bag's going to open, so this is how I've got it like this. So I'm going to have the zipper pull down here instead of down here, because then the bag would open that way. It actually, that only really matters if you're using directional fabric, but just so you're aware. I like to come in and unzip this a little bit and simply pin this to the top edge of the bag. And if you have a lot of extra hanging over on the side, just make sure that you are pinning the center of the zipper to the center of the bag. Now take your lining piece, the piece that has that fusible fleece attached to it, and you're going to make a little sandwich. So the zipper is in the center of the sandwich. You're going to make sure all of your edges are nicely lined up. You can either take the pins out and move them, or add a second set of pins. I prefer to add a second set of pins. All right, take this to your machine and sew it. I have my sewing machine set up with a zipper foot. A zipper foot is different for every machine. This is a Bernina, so I'm working with the 4D foot. And you can move your needle right and left on your machine. Just find the right left adjustment and then place your zipper down. And I always forget which way I need to move my needle, right or left. So I kind of just usually move it. Oh, sorry, I bumped the camera. Usually move it after I get it in place. So what you're going to do is you're trying to sew this with a 1/4 inch seam allowance. The zipper is in here. You know you've pinned it the right way. You can kind of with your finger feel where the zipper is. So you're not going to run over that zipper. You just kind of have to trust your instincts here. I have my needle moved over 3 clicks to the left. Start sewing. Make sure lock that stitch. Come right down. So right here I have a bump. I can feel this bump, and I know this bump is where that zipper pull is. So I'm going to sew as close as I can to the bump. Put my needle down and lift my presser foot. Let me see if I can do this without bumping the camera again. And I'm going to take the zipper pull and I am going to zip up the zipper. So now my zipper pull is out of the way. And I can finish sewing this seam without it. All right, the zipper, this side of the zipper is top stitched. We're ready to do the other side of the zipper. Now, this, if you get lost, their directions for this are on page 5. We're gonna do like a loopy-loop thing, but don't be intimidated. You might want to take a pin and pin these straps out of the way first, because I have accidentally sewn them into my zipper during this step. So just kind of pin them out of the way. All right, we're gonna pin the other side of this bag front piece to the right side of the zipper again. Unzip my zipper. And you're gonna do your best to make sure this is lined up. The side seams here are lined up, and the top and bottom are lined up. Now you need to pin the other side of the lining to the wrong side of the zipper. So you're gonna flip this around. So you're kind of folding the lining in half like a book, and you're gonna bring it around and pin it to the wrong side of the zipper. All right, then you're going to sew along the top edge, same way you did for the other side, and are also going to make sure as we sew that we put our needle down, lift the presser foot, and get that bulky zipper pull out of the way as we sew. All right, after that's sewn, you have a piece that looks like this. Kind of looks like a figure 8, for lack of a better explanation. I want to make sure, I didn't mention it earlier, but make sure as you sew with a metal zipper, you don't ever sew over the metal zipper. You always keep it out of the way because that could damage your machine. And also make sure as you iron your zippers that you don't touch them because metal zippers get very hot when they're ironed. Okay, so I'm going to come in and unzip the zipper, and then I'm just going to turn the bag right side out.